What are you doing, Kanekis? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to be continuing with our series of what the heck happened in 1971, assessing the impact of fiat currencies on today's society. So in the first part, we talked about what fiat currencies are and how they affect income growth. If you haven't seen that one yet, if you haven't seen part one yet, I do recommend watching that first before watching this. In this one, we're going to be talking about how fiat currencies affect male and female dynamics. But before we get into it, please hit the like button, subscribe as well if you're new and you haven't already. Please also share this video out because it is important that people see this. Just as a quick recap, fiat currencies, in 1971, the gold standard was ended. Basically, the dollar could no longer be exchanged for gold, which meant that all currencies around the world became fiat, backed by nothing. So the governments could basically print it to infinity. They could make as much of it as they wished. That's what fiat currencies are. But I do recommend watching part one first because it sort of flows better if you watch it that way. Right, the meat and bones. Fiat currencies affect male-female dynamics. Before I start, let me just say that the facts don't care about your feelings. I am showing data, I am showing charts, and I'm trying to interpret them to the best of my abilities. If I get cancelled for this, so be it. It's their facts. Right, so looking at single earner households, it basically became impossible. Inflation was eating away at people's earnings, and wives had to enter the job market. Families could no longer be sustained on one income. As you can see, the line of both spouses working, the purple line here, has increased from 47% to 66%. The husband only working has tanked from 38% to 21%. Wife only working has only gone up from 2% to 7%. I mean, how many households do you know are built around the woman only working? It's not common. But yeah, the fact that the husband only working has tanked this much by 17% is quite telling. How often have you heard about men saying, yeah, I'm the breadwinner, I'm the provider for my family, and they have a lot of pride in it? When the wife starts working and contributing, it does something to a man. Well, like I said, I don't care. The facts don't care about your feelings. It does something to a man. And I'm going to go even deeper with the next slide. The share of the women in the workforce has increased massively all around the world. It's not just an American thing. It is all around the world. I'm going to play this twice. I'll just let it run the first time so that we can see how all the countries have done. It starts off in 1890, steady increase. However, look at 1971. Boom! Straight up. Because households could not survive on just one income. They simply couldn't. Inflation was ravaging at the earnings, at the savings. And this was promoted as women's liberation. I mean, yes, there was the idea of feminism before that. With women voting, I do believe women should vote. They are part of the economy, they are part of society, so of course they should vote. However, this with women entering the workforce is a different thing. They were, how do I put it? It was promoted to them as getting up from underneath the patriarchy, from being oppressed. And governments needed this because if you look at it, government's revenue comes from taxes, and there was half of the population that wasn't being taxed. They weren't contributing to taxes. So they were like, actually, we could get more revenue if women come into the workforce. They come into the workforce, we tax both them and their husbands, and we could double our revenue. Ah, what a great idea. Banks loved it as well because it also meant more money for them in terms of bank deposits. If women are earning more, that means they can get more deposits in, and they can then buy more bonds. It's so sinister. It's so freaking sinister. Right. And as you can see, this has now impacted the median male income. Just looking at the top chart here, real GDP per capita, I described in part one that GDP is gross domestic product. It is a measure of how much an economy produces. However, it is a faulty measure because government spending is a factor in it. To understand it, go watch part one. Like I said, it flows better if you watch it from part one. So yeah, after 1971, the male median income stagnates. It just stagnates, while the real GDP per capita increases. Of course, this is indexed, by the way. So both the charts for the male and female charts are indexed. However, the women's line increases, the median female income increases, and I'll explain why. At least from my perspective, I'll explain why. But before I do that, let me just say both charts are indexed. So men are starting from a higher nominal median income. Women are starting from lower, so they're playing catch up. And of course, there's this issue with the wage gap. So they can't keep increasing the men's while increasing the women's. It wouldn't be profitable for companies. So they have to slow down the men's increase while increasing the women's. So that's why we're seeing that steady increase for the median female income. So yeah, they were basically playing catch up. There's another element to this. I have to choose my words wisely here. Because women were paid less initially, they were cheaper labor, right? So by hiring them for traditional male roles, governments could increase their profit margins because they're getting the same output for less. So they pay the men less and they're hiring women into male roles. The women get promoted. The men have to be capped a bit to help them play catch up, to help the women play catch up. And basically the incentives were hire women for male roles. So this catch up that's been played, men losing their jobs, men now not earning as much. Give me 5 minutes of your time and I'll show you why it's sinister. We're gonna diverge a bit. It's a very heavy topic, so I want to diverge a bit just to ease the tension. So we're gonna talk about house prices for a sec. House prices have been affected. And basically it has now affected when people get married, which I'll show again in a sec. So how long does it take to save for a house? In 1970 it was 2.4 years. In 2020, it's 6.9. It is more than doubled, definitely more than doubled. And now it's basically caused a reported decline in marriage rates, which has then led to a decline in birth rates. House prices have increased because the government keeps printing money. Like I said in part one, if there is a fixed supply or there is a slower increase in a good or service, but the denominator, that being the currency, is increasing, there is more of that currency chasing a limited supply, meaning the price of that supply has to go up. So, as you can see, house prices have skyrocketed since 1971, based on this chart. Renting has stayed the same, but people don't really tend to raise a family in rented property. They prefer to buy a house. So people are seeing these house prices skyrocket and they're like, oh, well, if I can't buy a house, what's the point of starting a family? What's the point of getting married? And I've put own there in brackets because you don't really own your house until it's paid in full. And even when you pay it in full, you're still paying property taxes. If you Try to not pay your property tax and see whether you still own your house. You don't. You still have to pay taxes on the house you fully paid off for. Also, there's something sinister about house prices. With increasing inflation, you're paying more property taxes on your house because your house is going up in value. So year on year, you're paying more in property taxes, which is draining more from your savings and investments. So also think about that when you're thinking about getting a house. Right, you remember what I was saying about this affecting marriages? So coupled with housing prices and women now starting to earn more than men, or men's earnings stagnating, the median age at first marriage has increased since 1971. There's a reason I didn't talk about this right after the median wage, because it does tie into house prices as well. It's not just because men's earnings are more or less stagnating. So rising house prices do affect when people get married. It takes longer to save to buy a house, meaning it takes longer for people to choose to get married. This, like I said, it has also led to a decline in birth rates. The number of children per woman has dropped. It has puked. You can almost say it has puked. Since 1971, it was around 5 children per woman. I mean, simply because they could afford them. They could afford to have 5. They were also on a single earner income per household. So the less they could afford for everyday goods, food, I mean, the fewer children they had. And it's tanked to about 2.41. That is the total fertility rate as of 2024. And this is a bit worrying, because the replacement level fertility rate is 2.1 children per woman. So that is the number of children each woman in a society needs to have, in a country needs to have, to replace the existing population. Otherwise, you suffer from population decline, which is happening in a lot of Western countries at the moment. If you look at these values, Japan is at 1.37, UK is 1.76, not too bad. USA is 1.79, South Korea, oh man, pray for South Korea. Those guys are struggling. They're at 1.08. For comparison, Nigeria is at 5.01. So you Nigerians, hey, listen, brothers, you guys are cooking. You guys are eating good. But the thing is, the economy isn't great. So people are just having kids in the hopes that one of them makes it out, makes it good. Also, they have kids to help out with like farming and stuff. So there is a greater need for children in let's say emerging markets, developing countries. However, in the West, it's a weird thing. The more prosperous a country is, the fewer kids they have. It's quite interesting. Yeah, and also we've seen an increase in divorce rates. Finances is one of the top reasons stated in divorce cases. Of course, like I said, the man isn't earning as much. The woman is now increasing her income to the level of the man, and almost even passing him. It is a growing trend that women are starting to earn more than men. Cohort. I don't mean within that specific job. I just mean age cohort. Women do they're starting to earn more than men. They're starting to go to college more, which is great actually. Well, great for them, but not so much for the guys. They're starting to go to college more than guys. They're starting to graduate more often than guys are. Basically, guys are despondent because the median income for guys has stagnated. Like I said, it comes back to the money. There is no incentive, or there is less of an incentive for men these days to, you know, push and strive, because I mean the women are doing it. They're doing it for themselves. They're like, well, what do I need to do? You know, what am I needed for? That's the feeling for a lot of men. It's not great. It's not great for guys out there. Yeah, inflation causes finance issues within households. They can't afford stuff, so divorce happens. You can see 1971. It was increasing towards then. However, I mean, you can already see the slopes. Of course, all the age cohorts there, it's up. It's up. Divorce rates are up. In terms of families with children in poverty, official poverty, 1971 here, it has steadily increased for single-parent families with children. Of course, this is also impacted by divorce rates. Like I said, there's a flow. I've done my best to make this story flow. Impacted by divorce rates, so more single parent families with children because of finances, they are now living poor. And with the blue line, you can see that it's more or less leveled off. It was decreasing though, however, it has leveled off. I think that's probably because, I mean, the wives have been entering the workforce, so it's helped to sustain the family. However, with this chart, you want both lines to be going down. You want it to be going down, not flat, not up, down, because it means that there are fewer families with children in official poverty. But that's not the case, because inflation is eating at their savings, it's eating at their investments. Some of them don't, I mean, some of them probably don't even have investments. So married couples with children, like I said, it was decreasing, but in 1971, it stayed flat. It's not going up, but it's not going down, which is what you really want with this chart. It's not going down. Male-female dynamics, guys. It comes back to the money. It comes back to the money. Don't think this is exempt. Don't think it is not impacted by inflation. It is. It is. Yeah, so that is it for this part of how fiat currencies affect male-female dynamics. I hope it wasn't too controversial. If it was, the facts don't care about your feelings. I hope you did enjoy it. The next part, we'll be looking at fiat currencies affecting life trajectory. That's a more sinister one. I think it is definitely more it's definitely a sad one. I mean, if this one wasn't sad, if this one wasn't sad already, the next one will be. But I hope you got something out of it. I hope you learned something new from this video. If you did, please hit the like button, share the video out with friends, family, people you believe will need to learn about this. Subscribe as well. It will mean a lot. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, so help us get there. You can also tip me by sending a thanks. It would be very much appreciated. I'll see you in part 3. Peace.